Welcome to our Thanksgiving Eve service within the Montrose United Methodist Church community. It is a joy to be with you here in worship this evening. Our service will look just a little bit different than typical, just like this year has been a little bit different than typical. You're joining me in my kitchen and we'll go on a journey of baking something together. So let us begin with a song.
For the fruits of this creation, thanks be to God. For the gifts of every nation, thanks be to God. For the plowing, sowing, reaping, silent growing while we're sleeping, future needs in earth safe keeping, thanks be to God. In the just reward of labor, God's will is done. In the help we give our neighbor, God's will is done. In our worldwide task of caring for the hungry and despairing, in the harvest we are sharing, God's will is done. For the harvest of the Spirit, thanks be to God. For the good we all inherit, thanks be to God. For the wonders that astound us, for the truths that still confound us, most of all that love has found us, thanks be to God.
I want to invite you on a journey with me this evening as I make cinnamon rolls. My grandma was the one who taught me how to bake and cook, and these gifts for me have turned into hobbies, things that I do to ground myself as I measure and knead and rest and mix and put things in the oven, and beautiful, wonderful small goods come out. And I'm so thankful for the opportunity and to have this gift my grandma shared with me. So we're gonna make cinnamon rolls from her recipe tonight. Please join me. Until I was an adult, I didn't really realize baking was a science. I thought you could put ingredients together in any order without proper measuring, just a guesstimation, and everything would turn out okay. Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes our recipes turn out okay regardless of how intentional or unintentional we've measured the ingredients and followed the recipe. And sometimes the recipe doesn't turn out the way we expected or hoped for. While we're waiting for our dough to rise, let us hear a reading from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 8, verses 7 to 18. I'm reading from the Common English Bible. The Lord your God is bringing you to a wonderful land, a land with streams of water, springs and wells that gush up in the valleys and on hills, a land of wheat and barley, vines, fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive oil and honey, a land where you will eat food without any shortage. You won't lack a thing there. A land where stone is hard as iron, and where you will mine copper from the hills. You will eat, you will be satisfied, and you will bless the Lord your God in the wonderful land that he has given you. But watch yourself. Don't forget the Lord your God by not keeping his commands or his case laws or his regulations that I'm commanding you right now. When you eat, get full. Build nice houses and settle down. And when your herds and your flocks are growing large, your silver and gold are multiplying, and everything you have is thriving, don't become arrogant, forgetting the Lord your God, the one who rescued you from Egypt, from the house of slavery, the one who led you through this vast and terrifying desert of poisonous snakes and scorpions, of cracked ground with no water. the one who made water flow for you out of a hard rock, the one who fed you manna in the wilderness, which your ancestors never had experienced, in order to humble and test you, but in order to do good to you in the end. Don't think to yourself, my own strength and abilities have produced all this prosperity for me. Remember the Lord your God. He is the one who gives you the strength to be prosperous in order to establish the covenant he made with your ancestors. And that's how things stand right now. Thus ends the reading. God gave the Israelites a recipe to follow. God encouraged a relationship with them. God gave them food and water. God gave them the 10 Commandments, all while God led them through the wilderness. But the Israelites didn't always follow the recipe that God gave them. And the results didn't turn out the way they expected for the Israelites or for God. This passage from Deuteronomy 8 is a reminder to the Israelites and to us that God has and always will provide for us. Deuteronomy 8 is like the picture that you see in the cookbook that you want your end result to be when you follow that recipe. It's our goal. It's our expected outcome. God will deliver us to a beautiful place, a place abundant with fruit, overflowing with streams of water, a place where we will never hunger or want anything, because this land God provides will give us all we could ever need. So much of our lives are focused on needs and wants. I remember when I was in 3rd grade, we had a lesson on wants and needs, and that lesson has stuck with me to this day. Needs are the things that we need to survive. Needs would be things like clothes, food and water, shelter. A need is something that you cannot live without. Wants are those things we desire, the things that are separate from and beyond our basic human needs, because we don't need our wants. God provides us with what we need over and over again. We experience God's generosity that fulfills our needs, the things that help us survive. Yet we still get caught up in trying to secure those needs for ourselves, sometimes muddling our needs with our wants. All of this work to feel secure in what we have distracts us from the message found within Deuteronomy 8. The message that God is the one who will always provide, no matter what. Unless we focus on God's gifts, the ones that fulfill our needs, and see them as gifts from God, they are meaningless. Even the most lavish of things may seem cheap or underwhelming if our hearts are not focused on the peace of God's abundance. Even though we have journeyed through deserts, oppression, or fear, God has always given us what we need. We are in the midst of a journey right now. We are in a time of wilderness, a time of hunger for human contact, a time of dry social lives, a time when we thirst for normalcy. God sees that. God sees our desire to have a life that is different from what we are experiencing right now. God feels our frustration and grief. And just as God rescued the Israelites from slavery in Egypt and delivered them to the promised land, God will see us through this time of wilderness and uncertainty. I hope with centered hearts and a clear focus on God, we can see all that God has blessed us with and feel inspired to be a blessing to others. Each year here at Montrose United Methodist Church, we collect a Thanksgiving offering that goes in support of ministries our bishop calls us to support. This year, our offering will go in support of local ministries within our very own conference. These ministries include the Bakken Oil Rush Ministry, which has helped over 5,000 families and individuals by providing them with clothing, work gear, and household items. The Bakken Out in Faith Ministry, which serves the people of Williston, North Dakota with a weekly meal and devotion. They have seen an increase of 25% of people in need during this pandemic. Solar Oven Partners is one we as a church are familiar with as we continue to support and help distribute solar ovens both near and far. Spirit Lake Ministry Center and Tree of Life Ministry does much with families to feed and supply them with needs within those areas within the Dakotas, specifically Native American reservations. These ministries have been struggling, as we all have been, during this pandemic and could use any help we can give. Our church has a goal of contributing $250 for this offering. I think that will be easy for us to achieve, so join us in supporting our local ministries by mailing your gift to our P.O. Box 265, Montrose, South Dakota 57048, or give online on our website, noting that it is for this Thanksgiving offering. Now let us sing together, Now Thank We All Our God, to reflect on God's gifts and center ourselves with a thankful heart.
Now thank we all our God, with heart and hands and voices, who wondrous things has done, in whom this world rejoices, who from our mother's arms has blessed us on our way, with countless gifts of love, and still is ours today. Oh, may this bounteous God through all our life be near us, with ever joyful hearts and blessed peace to cheer us, and keep us still in grace, and guide us when perplexed, and free us from all ills in this world and the next. All praise and thanks to God, the Father, now be given, the Son and Him who reigns with them in highest heaven, the one eternal God, whom earth and heaven adore. For thus it was, is now, and shall be evermore.
Verse 18 from Deuteronomy 8 says, Remember the Lord your God. He is the one who gives you strength to be prosperous. Remember the Lord your God. God is the one who gives us all we need to survive and thrive. Remember the Lord your God, who will never leave you or forsake you. Remember the Lord your God, the one who supports and loves us unconditionally. Remember the Lord your God. Go in peace.